A human outline plummets through blackness. A digital timer ticks, 1 minute 40 seconds. If you fell straight down, you'd keep falling for a full minute and 40 seconds before hitting anything. That's the distance to the bottom of the world's most storied deep cave. Deep enough to bury the entire Grand Canyon under bedrock. They call it Krubera, after a Russian geologist who never even saw it. Locals in Abkhazia call it Voronezh, the crow's cave. Imagine lowering yourself past the reach of every sound, every signal, every kind of light. Your flashlight only shows how completely it's gone. This is the environment of our deepest, oldest fear. What is the darkest place your mind has ever taken you? Below 1,000 meters, even the air begins to change, dense, heavy. The rock itself blocks seismic noise. The world stops echoing. The air presses like weightless water. It smells of stone untouched by sunlight for 200 million years. And for a while, there's nothing. Then, something moves. A tremor too steady to be wind, too slow to be imagination. Every explorer remembers that instant. The moment the darkness doesn't feel empty anymore. And that's where the real descent begins. Because what waits below isn't just stone. It's the part of the planet that doesn't want to be found. The first day is a 12-hour vertical drop. You trust a single 9mm rope, a single knot, and a single helmet light. Everything else fades. Every descent in a Krubera begins with that first irreversible step into a hole that offers no guarantee of return. The deeper you go, the more the cave behaves like a living thing. Moist air exhaled from below, a drip rhythm that never quite repeats. But the cave doesn't just squeeze you, it fights back. You crawl through hydrophobic sludge, a freezing, oily mud that repels water and clings to your skin like glue. Every motion costs minutes, sometimes hours. Expedition leader Denis Pruvalov called it feeling the heartbeat of the mountain. The limestone fractures into body-width fissures. Each step feels like descending through your own grave. Ropes freeze solid. Condensation turns harness straps into stone. To stay sane, they invent rituals, counting seconds between drips, trading the same 3 jokes, brewing coffee, so thick it tastes like rust. Some call it cave psychosis, a creeping sense that the darkness itself is alive, waiting for you to stop talking. At 1,400 meters, Camp 4, where expeditions wait out surface storms, they rest in a chamber no wider than a subway car. You can touch both walls without extending your arms. Down here, they stop setting watches. Time dissolves. Days stretch into one thick, unmoving night ruled only by exhaustion. Then comes the sound, a resonant, irregular scrape, like a beast's claw dragged across a mountain of stone. They thought it was their own echo, until they found what was making the sound. The scrape wasn't rock shifting. It was water, an underground river, grinding through stone with the patience of geologic time. When they followed the sound, the tunnel opened into a cathedral carved by pressure and centuries of slow collapse. A river shimmered beneath sheets of calcite. Waterfalls plunged into voids so deep their echoes took minutes to return, if they returned at all. Then their lights caught movement. A translucent springtail drifted across the mud. No pigment, no eyes, only long antennae sweeping the darkness like radar. Scientists later identified it as Plutomurus ortobalaganensis, a creature found nearly 1,980 meters below the surface, the deepest terrestrial animal ever recorded. These are troglobites, life forms that traded sight and color for energy conservation. They've abandoned the sun's economy entirely, evolving to survive on chemical scraps and touch. Some walls were slicked with microbial mats invisible to the naked eye, until ultraviolet light revealed faint glows, like ghost circuitry etched into stone. Chemical analysis confirmed chemosynthesis, life powered not by sunlight, but by the slow reactions between rock and groundwater. NASA scientists now study these organisms, using Krubera as a blueprint for what life might look like beneath the frozen crust of Europa or Mars. For a moment, even the most rational minds faltered. If life can flourish here, one explorer wrote, maybe darkness isn't the opposite of life. Maybe it's just another version of it. But the river wasn't the deepest path. Behind a narrow slit in the wall, air was moving, warm, damp, steady. Something was breathing down there. And to reach it, they'd have to leave the river and crawl into the narrowest corridor ever mapped inside the earth. Beyond the cathedral chamber, the cave constricted. Limestone fractures narrowed into body-width fissures. Every handhold slick with condensation. Every movement had to be deliberate, almost surgical. At 2,146 meters, the passage flooded. The terminal sump known as Dva Capitana, 2 captains, Gennady Samokhin descended into the black water, trusting his rebreather, safety line, and decades of cave diving experience. 46 meters into the sump, he stopped, not by choice, not by fear, but because the cave allowed no more. The water was 45 degrees Fahrenheit. His air bubbles rose like slow-motion pearls, leaving silence heavier with each exhale. 8 minutes at maximum depth. 8 minutes in a sensory vacuum, where the only rhythm was his heartbeat and the faint mechanical hiss of his rebreather. Around him, the cave seemed to breathe. Subtle currents, faint exhales from unseen voids, and echoes offset by meters of stone. Alien timing, disorienting. One slip, one misjudged breath, and he would be wedged, trapped, invisible. Think about that. Your body becomes part of the cave's geology. Future explorers might find your bones, or they might not. You simply become stone. The water moved. Warm air hinted at lateral passages, veins of the cave yet unmapped. Beneath him, there was no bottom, only vast, unmapped dark water that could connect to geological fissures and the deep biosphere, an undiscovered subterranean ocean. The cave whispers possibilities, but physics holds the gun. At this threshold of biology and geology, we have to ask, is the limit here just a matter of better technology, or is Krubera protecting a secret the planet doesn't want us to know? Samokhin surfaced. The dive logs were sealed. When journalists asked what he saw at the deepest point a human has ever reached inside the Earth, he gave the same answer every deep explorer gives. Something that makes you question why we go at all. Because the real question isn't what stops us from going deeper. It's what the act of descending reveals about the human mind itself. Deep underground, the cave stops being just stone. It becomes a mirror. The darkness reflects not the walls around you, but the corridors of your own mind. As the explorers descend, isolation stretches time and perception. Hours feel like days. Days collapse into a single, unbroken night. Memory fragments drift like sediment in a subterranean river. Every echo, every drip, every heartbeat becomes a conversation with yourself. Jung called it the confrontation with the shadow, the parts of our psyche we ignore in daylight. And if Jung pointed at the shadow, Plato showed us the perceptual distortion in his allegory of the cave, where appearances deceive and truth is obscured. Freud would whisper about the ego dissolving, the conscious mind stripped to instinct. Here at 2,197 meters, theory meets lived experience. In this oppressive silence, the mind exaggerates. Shapes and shadows become presences. Sounds are interpreted as threats. Yet, paradoxically, clarity emerges too. Stripped of distraction, the brain sees patterns, connects dots, recognizes truths previously overlooked. This is why we descend. Not for conquest, not for the record, not even for the discovery of life, but for understanding. Understanding of limits, of fear, of the fragile, astonishing machinery of consciousness itself. And then, in the narrowest corridor, when your body aches and your mind races, you confront the ultimate question. If the cave can make you doubt reality, what does that say about the world above it? And the life you've always trusted? This ultimate question leads to the ultimate choice. If you knew you could reach the bottom, but could never return to the surface, would you descend? Let us know in the comments. The abyss is not below. It is within. It interrogates the mind. And the mind, in turn, finds that the earth still holds secrets deeper than any thought. But there's one question the cave never answers. If we understand ourselves better in darkness, why do we always return to the light? And that's where the real mystery begins. The cave swallows everything. The light, the sound, even certainty itself. Yet in its silence, it teaches a lesson more fundamental than any psychological theory. We are drawn to darkness because darkness strips away everything false. No pretense survives at 2,197 meters. No career, no identity, no social mask. Only the machinery of consciousness, operating at its most primal. And that is where clarity emerges. Every expedition to Krubera is an expedition into the human condition. We explore not just for knowledge, but to test the boundaries of what consciousness can endure, what the mind can witness, and what the self can become when stripped of everything familiar. As we look toward Mars, the ocean trenches, and the unmapped regions of our own planet, Krubera reminds us, the environments that reveal the most about us are the ones that demand the most from us. Every fissure, every unseen current, every breath of moving air is a mirror. Imagine yourself at the bottom. No light, no certainty, no return. Would you descend? And if this journey into darkness made you see something new, Explore our next video, where we examine what happens when a human mind has nowhere left to hide. Krubera is not the end of the story. It is proof. The deepest secrets are the ones we carry with us, waiting to be discovered in darkness. The deepest place on Earth is not measured in meters. It is measured in the questions we dare to ask and the courage we summon to answer them.